Hi, everyone. Another week. Welcome to another dispatch. It is a sunny day here. Springtime, definitely springtime in Colorado. Beautiful morning. Oh, and it's Easter. Happy Easter, everybody. Oh, all kinds of things happening. So, here I am. Routine. Routine. There's a couple more sections I want to bring because they're good. So this next section is about comparing Soutine and Van Gogh. And I think there's something also that I want to say. Maybe I'll just say it very briefly. Maybe I said it. There's something about Soutine's immediacy, his headlong immediacy that seems so necessary today somehow. I'll leave it at that right now. Okay. Not to mention his anxiety. Oh, okay. So we left off. I'm going to need to change my glasses. Excuse me, so I can read. I've got it. They're just bigger, so I can see better. All right, there we go. Now I'm a professor. For him, this is on page 13. For Soutine, painting is an inspired muddle, a sort of wrestling with experience rather than a standing back from it or an extended transformation of it. He was, in fact, like a 19th century painter, a realist, except that for him, this was a brand new thing rather than the culmination of a long tradition. That was the end of last. This is perhaps why he is said always to have professed indifference to Van Gogh, the one artist who, at this distance, seems to have given him the most. If one compares Soutine's first important painting, the self-portrait of about 1918, with a Van Gogh self-portrait, one sees that every accent in the Van Gogh seems to reflect an act of conscious definition, like a word. The picture opens itself to us through its drawing. The drawing of the Soutine, on the other hand, is inscrutable. One has the feeling that it happened. It is impossible to imagine Soutine unraveling a particular knot, making an explication to himself of a particular problem. It is not that the painting looks more spontaneous. There could hardly be more life than in the Van Gogh head, but that it looks more unpredictable. Van Gogh, one imagines, really wanted to master his picture, to be able to say to himself that the picture mirrored such and such an intention, hence its completed quality, as of a journey done. The Soutine makes us wonder why he put it aside. Its pulsations are of a different order. The head could swell and swallow up the canvas. The tie could fly off. There is an absence of logic in the curious shape of the collar and the shoulder of his jacket. At least it seems so as long as we try to refer it to the rest of the jacket. But as soon as we stop doing this, I'll put an image in the email. But as soon as we stop doing this and see it as a phenomenon on its own, we see how like the loop of the right ear the collar is, and how like the line of the cheek the shoulder is. We begin to recognize a kind of convulsiveness in the drawing against which the particulars of the head are just holding their own. It is perhaps at this point that Soutine's affinities with Van Gogh can be defined. All self-portraits are more than likenesses. There's an element of introspection in them, of self-characterization. One thinks of Courbet's heroic posturing, or the gamut of expressions that Cézanne explored in the late 60s. But what is special to Van Gogh and distinguishes him from any painter before is that he is not painting himself in order to paint a certain kind of picture. The kind of picture is identified with its subject, the painter. For all its self-conscious structure, it is impossible to imagine the resolution of this picture applied to different circumstances. What the picture is about and how it happened are one and the same. The implication is that the picture comes directly out of sensation. That sensation preceded the pictorial intention. The picture comes directly out of sensation, and that sensation preceded the pictorial intention. And we're talking about Van Gogh. Whatever ideas he may have had about painting, the nature of pictures or art are subsumed in the primary experience of the subject. The subject is recognized as meaningful in its own right, and also in its relationship to the painter, and in its function as a focus to his attention. For the time being, the painter is part of it. His affections, aggressions, fears, needs are flowing up to it and being answered by it. The self-portrait is a self-portrait in more senses than that of likeness. For a landscape by Van Gogh, or a still life, is also a self-portrait. This could hardly be said of an impressionist, for however empirical the impressionists thought they were being, there was an intention behind all their work, which was both descriptive and aesthetic. To this extent, there is a wider gap between them and their subject. The subject is less important in itself, and it is chosen for its visible qualities rather than for the resonance it has in the mind and imagination of the painter. For Van Gogh, the subject was of profound autobiographical importance on every level. I do not mean simply in its function as parable, the sower as life, the reaper as death, but in its every aspect, as though by articulating his experience of a part of the world, he was unifying his experience of the whole world, giving form to his relationship to it. He's so good. I mean, Forge. He's just brilliant. All right. Soutine, then, having nothing to do with the rationalism of Van Gogh's technique, has everything to do with his understanding of content. His posture is more extreme, his subjectivity far more ruthless and consuming. Ruthless and consuming. He could afford this if only because he was painting pictures that were on the face of it less extreme than others that were being painted at the same time, like Cubism or Matisse. It is in terms of this totally engrossed, primitive relationship to the painting act in which he seems to demand something of it rather than to make something with it that we can best understand Soutine. As I have said, in later years, he disclaimed Van Gogh. He was clearly aware of and in certain idiosyncratic way influenced by Cézanne and Bonnard. But he gave his unreserved admiration to pre-impressionist artists, to Tintoretto and El Greco at first, later to Rembrandt, Courbet, and Corot. Soutine's admiration for Rembrandt led him once to sit up for 2 nights in the train so that he could spend a whole day at the Rijksmuseum in front of the Jewish bride. There are 2 instances of his having painted subjects that were reconstructed from works by Rembrandt: the Carcass, 1925, and the Woman Bathing, which he painted in 1929 and again in 1931. He did the same with Courbet. There is, for example, a siesta in the Castaing collection, which is reconstructed from a study for La Demoiselle au bord de la Seine. Drawing. And a salmon. Salmon. Also in the Castaing collection is a tribute to Courbet's treatment of the same subject. These influences were to become increasingly important to him as he grew older. In the present context, it is obvious that what Rembrandt and Courbet have in common is an unreserved grip of material actuality. Forget the grandeur of Rembrandt, the dramatic mise en scène, and one is left with a solidity, sometimes clayey, sometimes brassy, always tough, dense, and so actual that it is like a rediscovery of matter. Solidity seems to be apprehended on such a primary level that one can hardly know by what sense or organ one receives it, through one's eyes, or under the palm of one's hand, or against the roof of one's mouth. Of course, it is with these powerful and disturbing sensations that Rembrandt structures a whole world. This is his measure. That is his architecture is as ambitious as his material is earthy. I'll pause. I mean, it goes on. I mean, I was going to read. Maybe it's enough. It's a lot. It's dense. It's good, though. All right. And then I'm going to do one more. It's a great section. I'll do it next week. Right. Well, there you go. I hope you're all well. Making stuff. It's good to make stuff. Drawing, painting, or whatever. Okay. I'll send this out to you and be well. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.